welcome back to the Dan Quarter Show. South Africa's a movie and you're on the watch party, and our big guest interview tonight is really, really cool. We've been speaking a lot on this show about how everyone needs to work together to get better educated, to understand what is going on in the country, because through information and understanding we can mobilize better and use all the powers that our democracy has given us. So let's get into it, and I'm thrilled to welcome somebody who knows exactly all about that through all of the different work that he's done and what he is doing now. Please make some noise. Now most recently from We the People South Africa, it's Irfaan Mangera, everybody! And I want to start, you told me off air, your t-shirt means We the People in sign.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we just start with what is We the People South Africa for a lot of people who don't know yet?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me, Dan. We the People South Africa is an organization meant to protect, build, and make aware what does the Constitution mean. And I think it leads into this vision of a society that understands what responsibilities and rights are afforded to every single person, and the need to protect those rights so that no one is left to their own devices.
Do you find that the average South African, or even the average South African in NGO or do good work like yourself, doesn't actually know that much about the Constitution? Like, it's a small book, but it's a thick book. And there's a lot of chapters. There's the Bill of Rights, there's Chapter 9 institutions and the rest. Do you find that the average one of us just doesn't know that much about it?
So yes, and this is me doing years and years of community-based work across South Africa, townships, middle-class areas, city centers. And you find that there is a lack of understanding. And that's primarily why we actually built and created this curriculum. Because the problem statement that exists, and was research done by the Human Rights Foundation, Foundation for Human Rights, as well as the Department of Justice, that said that 51% of South Africans only understand or know about the Constitution.
Wow. Which
really gives you an indication that people don't really understand it, don't even know that there's this thing called the Constitution, and what it means for them to be a citizen in this country.
For sure. And I mean, it's amazing considering how much politicians bash the Constitution, knowing that they themselves are lying about the Constitution as they bash it, to try and outsource blame for their own failings onto this book, hoping that the people listening to them don't know enough about the book to realize that the politicians are lying and creating a scapegoat. So tell us what We the People is doing with this curriculum. What is the point of the curriculum? What's the goal? Who is it for?
So one of the recognizable things that we took up for quite early was that, yes, if 51% only understand the Constitution and know that there's a Constitution, with a country that is 2/3 youth, what does that mean to target and build a consciousness within young people to understand what their rights are and what's afforded to them? And so this constitutional literacy project called Elements Season 2 is a very bold and ambitious project to make sure every young person understands that there is this Constitution and what it means for them. It has really cool content. It's a 10-episode project. It's aligned to the CAPS curriculum for LO.
Oh,
so it's really driven to the point where we want all schools to actually adopt this as a part of their learning curriculum. But what's fun is that, you know, I heard you speak earlier about how does it relate to young people? And we have really cool guests who actually deliver the content through video and printouts that teachers can use.
Okay, so these are resources targeted mainly for schools, videos and copy. It's not, the Department of Basic Education hasn't ordered any schools to do it, but you're looking for schools to opt in to including it in LO.
So both. We just launched this as the first event for the Human Rights Festival.
Okay.
And one of the cool things is that this is meant to go far and wide as possible. Particularly for us, we're interested in quintile 1, 2, and 3. But this is available for everyone. We want every South African to access this.
Just online?
It's an online platform. Amazing. And you can register on there. We have people like Msaki, Lasizwe, people Skalk Bezedeno, really fun people who have made this content because they also believe in the South Africa that we hope to build as a collective.
Yeah, they're impressed now that Msaki cares about it. I could hear in the crowd, I was like, oh, well, if Msaki cares about it, I guess I'll do it. I'll have a look. So where can people find this platform online if they're not in school anymore?
So it's on the Elements website. What we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks is hosting a train the trainer for teachers, for NGOs who are doing community-based education after-school programs. And so once we get that out, the rollout is going to be quite extensive. And we will hopefully meet with department officials in the near future.
Is it literally elements.co.za?
It is Elements, but you'll find it on our pages, and
Okay.
we'll then direct you to
Okay.
the correct website, because
Excellent.
it's a partnership between 3 different organizers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I would like a spoiler now, Irfaan. I know you're here to tell us about it, but you know, sometimes people don't like to give spoilers. But like, just so we have an understanding of the kinds of material that lots of South Africans don't know and how we can understand better the Constitution, what literally is the first episode about?
So I'm not gonna do that, because I think it's
What a great
good
guest.
for you.
Hey, this is the kind of interview I aspire to. Yeah, keep going.
I think what is packaged in there is content related to young people, where teachers, young people, anyone who's interested to promote the Constitution can find easy to access information. The one that I was being passionate about, obviously, is voting, because I don't think as many young people realize the power they have to vote. And so there's a really good episode about what's the importance of voting, why should you actually care, and how do you actually hold politicians accountable? Because you were saying earlier, you know, politicians take this for granted and often bastardize this Constitution. But it's one that was done through hard struggle. The Constitution was done through consultative process to make sure that everyone's voices is heard. And in a time like now, where so many people are pushing against constitutionalism, I think it's important that everyone grapples with this this exciting project, I guess.
For sure. No, it sounds amazing. So for somebody watching the TV show right now who may have just discovered that there is a constitution, or maybe starting to get from you a little bit more of a sense of like how important our constitution is and how the whole world thinks that it's an amazing constitution, except for the criminals and the autocrats. This is a funny way of phrasing this question, Dan, but like, what is like what would your elevator pitch to someone to read the Constitution be? I've never thought about it before, but like, what is the chap? What's the big deal about this book that some people in South Africa actually call the good book, hilariously? What can you find out in there that can enable you as an everyday South African citizen to have more power and more strength in our society?
So there was a line I used to use back in when I was doing grassroots mobilization work, which was power rests in you, but it was youth, so with the TH at the end. And I think this book gives us that power. It gives us the boldness we need, the courage we need to actually execute what we actually want in society. And I'll say this, is that we have seen so many victories come because of this Constitution. Fights against land justice, fights against pit toilets, against education that is not being reforming towards our needs. And I think young people have to realize that this book isn't just words on paper. It's a living document. We have to make sure this thing becomes a reality. And that's why We the People exists, because it's about bridging that feeling that people have that they're powerless with recognizing that actually, hey, I do have power. And if we work collectively, we can actually make it a reality.
Yeah, it's so interesting how many people maybe don't understand that all of the laws in this country are built off of that book. All of the acts of parliament have to be okay with that book first to go through. And so when we talk about a constitution affording us rights, what we're actually talking about is like the presence of justice in this country. And I mean, another great example of like that the Constitution gave was the Treatment Action Campaign at a time where the ANC government did not want to help people with HIV, did not even want to acknowledge how serious the HIV crisis was. And the TAC was able to take, and that's just everyday people, was able to take the government to court and win because of that constitution.
100%. I mean, the likes of Zaki Ahmed, Mark Haywood, and the collective of TAC activists, people who are affected by HIV, who stood up and said, this is wrong. We deserve a life of dignity, which the Constitution premises as a value. And so if we don't start using this and building an arsenal of knowledge and information on this, taking it to ordinary people and communities far and wide, we're going to continuously see politicians do what they want. Yeah. And I think the movements like TAC, which continues today, and in fact, with funding cuts around HIV, it's important now more than ever to step up and say, what are we doing to make sure that we keep that promise alive? And so I'm hopeful that it's not just an encouragement to read and engage in an exchange of knowledge, but really about saying, how do I equip myself with the knowledge to go and fight the fight outside? Absolutely. Because it's no use sitting just behind your phone or at home watching. It's important to actually take action. Absolutely. And that's the outcome that I think this constitutional literacy project is about.
Oh, amazing. Okay, everyone here is now a fan so of the Constitution, but also We the People. How can people get involved in We the People, support you, follow your guys' work?
So if you're teachers, a young person, an organization who's interested in the curriculum, please reach out. We are on all social media platforms. Instagram is my favorite, so you'll probably get me commenting quite often there. X, not so much anymore. But really, all those platforms are available. Our website is up. You can email us. If you want to contact me directly, mangera@wethepeoplesa.org. And we want to make this an accessible project, so everyone has a stake in it, and make sure that you reach out. As a qualified teacher myself, I cannot say enough how excited I am about this.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Isn't he amazing? Irfaan Mangera, everybody. Make some noise. What a wonderful way